Welcome back from that segment, still Daybreak Africa. If you just tuned in, reaching me here from very studios in Ondo City, of course, I'm Ezekiel. Ogar, this morning, as earlier spoken of within Anire, we shall be looking on food safety, health implications of long-term refrigeration of cooked foods and its best practices. And of course, as always, our professionals to do justice to topics as this. And with us in the house is Dr. Monsurat Bello. She's a lecturer in Economics Department, AFUED, which is a DME Federal University of Education here in Ondo State. And she has a first degree in food science and technology from Lautech Ogbomosho in 1999. She has a master's from FUTA in 2014 and PhD from FUTA in 2018. Good morning, Doctor. Welcome on Daybreak Africa.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks
sir.
for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, ma. Good morning to you, ma.
So it's important for us to start from the top. A lot of people find it absurd or almost impossible that foods can actually get contaminated while refrigerated. Like we said earlier on, in my opinion, once you cook the foods, you buy the fruits and you put in the fridge, I believed all this while, all my life, that as long as there's power and the foods are in the refrigerator, packed or unpacked, they are safe. Now, research has shown that an estimated 600 million people, that is 1 in 10 people, actually fall very ill as a result of contaminated food all over the world. And statistics also shows that about 420,000 people actually die from eating contaminated food yearly. So, refrigeration of foods, is it just research saying what they think, or is it true that foods can get contaminated even when refrigerated?
Yeah, thank you for the question. When you are talking about refrigeration, keeping our food in there for preservation, we should first talk about safety. We are looking for safety measures because at times when we cook, we may not consume them at once. Due to busy schedule, we want to keep our food in there for some time. Especially like he has rightly said initially that he's a bachelor, and that is what happens most of the time, even for those that are not bachelors. So I will be starting from what food safety itself is. So when you are talking about food safety, we are talking about the way and manners or steps which we take when handling our food, right from when it is in the raw stage, before preparation, the preparation processes, the way we handle it when we are cooking it, and even when we now store, when it now comes to the issue of refrigeration. So talking about refrigeration, then when you are talking about food safety, it means proper handling, having taken all those steps to ensure that we do not contain, we do not contain contaminated foods.
What are the steps, you know?
I mentioned the handling of the raw material itself. I mentioned the preparation practices that is being involved in the preparation, in the cooking of our food. You understand that now? And where we store it, in which refrigeration now comes in. All these steps are very important. We take safety measures such that our food will not become contaminated, which may result into what we call illness.
Now, talking about preparation, it's a good thing that we're starting from there. A lot of people do not know how to begin to prepare their foods. While I was researching, the one thing that kept popping up is the fact that we need to wash our hands before we begin to prepare. Then again, the surface where you cut the vegetables, you cut the meat,
yes,
it's important that we are particular about the surface.
Exactly.
Again, research also let us understand that you cannot use the same cutting surface for vegetables for poultry. So we really, I really need you to explain those parts for us.
That is where safety comes in, and issue of contamination, and then hygienic practices. Before we can cook, we have to make sure that our hands are clean, that is washing them thoroughly. Then the materials we are going to use must be clean as well, because when you are talking about microorganisms, particularly bacteria, they are everywhere. Everywhere, talk about the surfaces, talk about in the air, even the water we use. So everything must be clean when you are starting that. Having washed our hand, then we can now be talking about food preparation. You understand now? Having all those ingredients that we are going to use on the table, the utensils, Talking about the knife, the pot, the plate, even the table, the cutting board has to be clean as well. You understand now? So that normally raw foods are in their natural form are wholesome. You understand? Until when we now tamper with it.
By cutting.
As
to begin to prepare.
As to begin to prepare. That is because we have exposed, like I've earlier said, microorganisms are everywhere. So once you cut, the surface is what is exposed to the air, and which means microorganisms can come in anytime. And out of all these microorganisms we are talking about, we have the yeast, we have the mold, we have the bacteria is the most deadly. And that is what is causing issue, even when you have your food refrigerated. So when you're talking about food safety, right from the moment you are preparing the food, you have to ensure cleanliness. You have to ensure proper hygiene. And that's why we tell women when they are cooking, all this, the issue of sharp nails, the bushy hair, and all those things must be kept off when you are cooking and you are already in the kitchen. So
in my research, I came across this bacteria. I don't know if I'm getting the words right at this time. Okay. It's called Staphylococcus aureus.
Staphylococcus aureus.
Aureus. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. I don't know what's the relationship between this bacteria and refrigerated food.
Thank you very much for that question. When you are talking about refrigeration, it is to slow down the growth of microorganisms. You understand me now? Not to kill them. There's what we call refrigeration temperature, and there's what we call danger zone in refrigeration. You understand what I'm saying now? When you are talking about refrigeration temperature, it has to be below the temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is otherwise below 5 degrees Celsius. You understand me now? But anytime we are now saying when the refrigeration temperature is now between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140, that is what we call the danger zone. And that is when the bacteria will thrive. You get that now? So talking about this particular microorganism that you mentioned, that is Staphylococcus aureus, it is not the only one. We have other ones too. We have the Listeria monocytogenes. We have E. coli and many other ones too.
Do you mind discussing this Staphylococcus aureus amongst other bacteria so we have a clear understanding?
Okay. Like I have earlier said, when you are talking about refrigeration, it will only slow down the growth of microorganisms. It doesn't kill them. But by the time you are putting it in, taking some steps before refrigerating your food can help in making sure that they are wholesome for consumption. You understand me now? Let me draw us back a bit. Going to the issue of bacteria, in which Staphylococcus aureus is one of the bacteria we are talking about in refrigeration. Or when you are talking about what bacteria, we have two types of bacteria. We can classify them into two. Talking about the pathogenic ones and talking about the spoilage bacteria. You understand me now? When you are talking about spoilage bacteria, they only tamper with the wholesomeness of our food in terms of the taste, in terms of the appearance, in terms of the flavor of the odor now. You understand me now? Such that when people consume it, at least if I see something that is not, it is not the right color it ought to be. If I see that it is smelly, it is matchy, it is slimy, I believe nobody wants to take that kind of a food. You understand me now? And that is as it goes with spoilage bacteria. You understand me now? So when you are talking about spoilage bacteria, they will only make the food unfit for consumption physically. It's not that it may tamper with our health, but when you see something that is not good, that is not wholesome, nobody wants to go near it. But when you are talking about the pathogenic type of bacteria, in which that's one you have mentioned falls into and many other ones, then we are now talking about foodborne illness. And that is what occurs when certain precautions are not taken when we are refrigerating our food, or when we refrigerate our food more than 3 to 4 days. You understand me now? If we intend refrigerating our food for more than 4 days, if you want to keep our food in the refrigerator for more than those stipulated number of days, it means we should be talking about freezing and not refrigerating. You get that now? Yes. Because as I've earlier pointed out, refrigeration will only slow down the rate of this at which this bacteria grows.
The bacteria are still there.
They are still there, especially if they have already formed spores into their food. When the spores are there, you will not even know they are there.
You will not even see them.
These pathogenic bacteria, when they are in our food, you will not know they are there because they will not make this food smelly. They will not make it change taste. They will not make it change odor. You understand? But they are there. It is when we now consume that we are feeling some symptoms such as vomiting, feeling nausea, feeling irritated, feeling feeling like going to the toilet often, then we know that something is wrong.
What about salmonella?
Salmonella is one
of the most commonest,
in
quotes,
and very dangerous too.
Very dangerous, which could actually lead to food poisoning.
Exactly.
That has taken a lot of lives.
That is why it is one of the pathogenic bacteria. And that is why when we are refrigerating, there are certain measures that has to be taken before going into refrigeration itself.
You know, when it comes to potential risk, basically, like you said, we tend to just assume runny stomach and afterwards it's nothing. And now, why not you educate us on some of the potential health risks associated with food refrigerated for extended period?
Thank you.
Over 3 days.
Over 3 days.
Because NAFDAC just came out last week, telling Nigerians to, that's another reason why we actually brought up this topic, that we should avoid eating foods refrigerated after 3 days. So to answer Ezekiel's question, we want to put a peg on the days, starting from 3 days.
Yes, that is better. That is, we are trying to know precaution measure that should be taken.
Potential health risk associated.
Yeah, those are, I've mentioned them earlier.
No, sometimes we tend to look running stomach as one of those things. You know,
no, at times, so we don't take things serious. Even we don't take serious. In fact, when the NAFDAC brought out that issue, my husband was telling me that what they want us to do in Nigeria again now, we should not refrigerate again. And I said it is not like that. It isn't. There are certain measures. If we have taken those measures, you understand me now, then probably some things may not be occurring. However, like I have said, bacteria refrigeration only slows down the growth of bacteria. It doesn't kill them. It doesn't destroy them. You understand me now? So after, when we refrigerate and you eat such food and you are having symptoms such as stomach pain, you understand me now? Excessive stooling, nausea, feel like vomiting. One is becoming restless. Then we know that there's likelihood of food poisoning. You understand? Especially after consuming such food.
So apart from bacteria, we have viruses, we have parasites, we have chemical substances which may lead to acute poisoning, and others like toxins in foods. So is it only bacteria that can lead to illness when foods are not properly refrigerated? So we want you to tell us how neuroviruses can actually affect the body as a result of food poisoning or food that is not properly preserved in the refrigerator.
To the best of my knowledge, viruses does not have much to do with food poisoning.
Okay.
You understand me? Because it seems it is transmission from one individual to another. But when you are talking about these microorganisms that mostly affect food, viruses affecting food is not that common. You understand me now? We have such cases of viruses when you have some illness. When you talk about communicable diseases, you understand. But when we are really talking about foodborne, food causing, microorganisms causing problems in food, you understand me now? We'll be talking about bacteria, we'll be talking about molds, we'll be talking about fungi. You understand me now?
Okay.
But the one that is more serious, that is most dangerous out of all these microorganisms is the bacteria, and which is the pathogenic one, because it doesn't give us any sign that it is present in the food. We will not even know that it is there until we consume and it starts reacting on us.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, at this point, I guess I would have to speak for all our single men out there to the next thing. So allow me to be your spokesperson at this point. Single men out there, we have this tendency of, making soup and letting that soup last for 2-3 weeks. In fact, that is the goal, to make the soup last for 2-3 weeks. So we don't have to go back to the kitchen and start struggling with the pot and the spoon and all the utensils. Now, what are the recommended storage times for different types of food, so as to prevent spoilage and food burn?
Okay. As a matter of fact, once the food is cooked already, then we should be talking about, we should know that we should, let me state it categorically. Once the food is cooked, it should not be, if you are refrigerating, it shouldn't be more than 3 to 4 days in your refrigerator.
It doesn't matter what the food is.
It doesn't matter what the food is. So that is one. Secondly, if you want to keep it more than that, then you'll be talking about freezing.
Okay.
You get that now. And when you are going to freeze, make sure the foods are in smaller quantities, in bits that you can consume at once. Put in shallow container, ensure they are covered, then you now freeze.
Why is it important it must be in smaller quantity? Because
by the time you are bringing out, if I have a whole large pot in the freezer, I am bringing out, I bring it out. Before I can take it, I have to thaw it a bit. Okay. That is allowing some of the ice to go away before I can scoop. You understand that now? When I do that, I return. You know it has thawed to some extent. Then there's likelihood of it being affected by microorganisms around. You understand? I told you microorganisms are everywhere. They're in the air and they're in the water. They're everywhere on the surfaces, even the utensils we are using. You understand now? So once we bring it out of the freezer, make sure you put it in bits such that the one you take is the one you can consume at once. Not that you are going to put it back into the freezer, saying you are freezing again, you bring it out again, it's thawed, you take the one you want, you introduce. Already the microorganism is there already.
You know, I really actually have, I prepared a question concerning foods that are brought from the freezer to thaw, which we do all the time.
Okay.
I do that all the time. We cook soup, stew, we bring it out, we wait for it to thaw, we take out from the food, then we return back again into the freezer. This is a common practice in Nigeria that we do. Yeah. What are the implications of bringing out large chunk of foods, leaving them to thaw, then returning them back again? And we do this back, like you said, for 3 weeks. We do this back and forth until that food is finished.
Yeah, it simply means that we are introducing microbacteria into it. Like I have told you earlier, pathogenic will not tell us, pathogenic bacteria will not tell us they are there already until we start feeling the effect on our body.
On our health.
On our health. So when you bring it out like that, it is advisable to make sure they are in small bits that you are going to use at once and not just taking it out, reintroducing it back into this place. Let me tell you something. The room temperature in which we place our food, especially in our kitchen, ordinary room temperature, favors the growth of microorganisms a lot. You understand that now? So once they are there, in the minimum time you brought it out, you don't even know what has happened to it before it's finished thawing. It may take time before it thaws. You understand that? But by the time you scoop, even the utensils you are using to scoop out of it, then putting it back again, you're already introducing some organism into it.
And this is what we do all the time.
All the time.
I do it all the time. I know that it's good to put foods into small packs, but I just, like you rightly said, put into small packs so that you just take the one for that meal.
Exactly.
The one that is enough for the family.
You finish at
you
once.
Count the pieces of meat, you know that this will be enough for the family's meal.
Yeah.
If you swallow, you put enough pieces of, you count per head. But again, we cook for 2 weeks. We put into big containers and we keep. We also go back and forth. It never occurred to me that it was dangerous to do that.
It is very dangerous
while the food is in the freezer, as it is. So let us take a look at proteinous foods.
Okay.
How do we, or should I say, how do we refrigerate the different types of foods that we have? Is there a special way to refrigerate proteinous foods or carbohydrate foods or the like? Or how do we refrigerate certain Nigerian foods? What are the best practices for refrigeration that you ascribe to?
Okay. As a matter of fact, once we have our food cooked, freezing them, especially the carbohydrates, talking about our swallows, even talking about our beans, it is not advisable to freeze them because the ice that will be formed within the food will affect the structure of such food, unless when you freeze like that, you are ready to allow it to thaw naturally and not you just bringing it out in the freezer,
dumping it into hot water.
Exactly. The structure will not be the same anymore. You understand that now? So for me, if you want to refrigerate such, you know, in your fridge, in the refrigerator, we have compartments there. Once you have cooked food like that, you don't place in the freezer compartment of the refrigerator. You put in the shelf that is next to the freezer. You get that now? While the lower part of the refrigerator is meant for your vegetables and your fruits. You get that now? So when you are talking about refrigerating your carbohydrate or whatever, it should be in a container, like I have earlier said.
Next to the freezer.
Next to the freezer.
Not in the freezer.
Not in the freezer.
Not below.
Not below.
At the middle.
At the middle.
You made mention of the need to put a soup per se, your stew, into smaller quantities. I tend to wonder, how does the type of storage container used tend to affect the safety and quality? Because I know for a fact some persons would actually just put their stuff into nylon or maybe or plastic rubber, maybe the entire pot into the fridge itself.
To the best of my knowledge, all these containers.
Bachelor.
Is the language.
He's asking the question because of himself and not bachelors out there. But it's better for you to get married. So that it should be easier for you. We intend to.
We're working on it.
We would attend to that question.
Well, anyway, whatever you are putting in the freezer, we should make sure it is clean. You understand me now? It should have cover. It should be deep, not shallow. You understand? It may be plastic. It may even be this stainless. You understand now? Like stainless doesn't react with most foods. You understand now? Even if it's going to be a nylon, there are some nylons that are refrigerator friendly. Just like we have those that are good for this. What we use to heat our food mostly now.
Takeaway.
Yeah, that we use for our those takeaways too. It can be used. So far, it has cover tightly covered the lid. This time I'm not just anyone that
Why
can just
is it important for us to put our foods into tightly covered lids before refrigerating?
Thank you. In the refrigerator, many things are kept there at once. You understand now? At times, even in the refrigerator, we have our raw food there, such as our raw meat, our raw fish, even our fruits are equal. Yeah, they are all there. Even the poultry, they are all there. You understand me? Some of our food are cooked, while some are not what? Some are not cooked. You understand me now? So that each of them will be in their own space. They will not tamper with each other. And at this point, let me mention that when you are having both the raw, especially those of us using deep freezers, if we are having both the raw and the cooked food there, the raw one should be below, while the cooked one should be above. So that the juice coming from the uncooked one will not tamper on the ones that are what? That are cooked.
That's interesting.
And even the flavor.
Very interesting point
as well.
Indeed, I know you spoke passively as regarding the temperature range for food, but I think are there probably different temperature range for different meals per se?
No, we'll be talking about, although when you are talking about research and you want to find out about some issues, you understand, we may be talking about temperature range. But however, for safety of our food at homes, you understand now, we'll be talking about safe temperature for our food in the refrigerator, which is below 40, which is at 40 or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise 4 or below 5 degrees Celsius for storage of whatever food you are putting in. It is the fridge that matters, the temperature of the fridge that matters, and that is why we are saying that we should ensure that when we want to be using our refrigerator for safety of our food, for keeping our food for preservation, the right temperature of the fridge should be ensured. You understand that now, especially in this situation in our country when the light is epileptic. Exactly, you understand me now, and that's why it is available that we should ensure that our refrigerator is working perfectly. If our refrigerator doesn't have the thermometer, we have what we call appliance thermometer, which we can buy and put in the refrigerator. Then we should ensure that we have a thermometer that can always take the temperature of the temperature of the refrigerator.
So the temperature should be
40 degrees Fahrenheit or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, not above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. When you are talking about above 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, then you are talking about danger zone in which microorganisms, especially this bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria, will be able to thrive. We think we are keeping there, but they are already there. And that is what will take us to saying keeping hot food in the refrigerator. You understand now? Then talking about if after cooking our food, should we place our food directly in the refrigerator or should we allow it to cool on the table before we put there? You get that now? So it's temperature of the refrigerator that matter most when we are using our food when we are using our refrigerator for preservation.
Now you just hitting the points. It's like you did the research with us because these are the questions that we want to ask. And I think Ezekiel mentioned it. When we cook, usually we let the food cool down before refrigerating. Some people don't do that. I've seen people change their freezers and fridges because of that practice. What we know about the dangers is the fact that it can actually spoil your refrigerator, but the health implication of allowing your food to cool down before putting in the refrigerator or freeze is something that we do not know. Can you please enlighten us?
Yeah, thank you very much on that question. When you are talking about after cooking our food and refrigeration or allowing to cool for some time, for storing, yeah, we can allow our food to cool down before putting in the refrigerator, in as much as we don't allow it to stay in the room temperature below more than 2 hours. That is after cooking, and I know I want to refrigerate, and I'm thinking I should allow it to cool down for a certain period of time before refrigerating. It must not stay on the table in my kitchen for more than 2 hours.
So we have to put a timer on it.
Exactly. So if we are the forgetful type, if we are the forgetful type, it means we can as well put the food in the freezer immediately after bringing. People will be wondering if the hot temperature will really have effect on the freezer or on the refrigerator. It may and it may not. It doesn't have any effect on the appliance itself. However, when you put hot food in the refrigerator, the temperature of the refrigerator drops. No, it will increase. No, okay, normally it will increase. You understand? Putting more pressure on the freezers or on the refrigerator compressor. You get that
where
now,
the spoilage comes from.
And that is when it comes, because the refrigerator will want to
work
in order to make up for the normal temperature that the refrigerator should have. And if it's not an effective one, the temperature in the refrigerator will have increased, therefore affecting. Remember I said any temperature above 5 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Fahrenheit will increase. We encourage the growth of microorganisms. You get that now?
So the 2 hours that you told us, why must it be 2 hours?
Yeah, well, for that 2 hours, with that temperature, they can still, the temperature there can still be, you leaving it for that 2 hours can still take time. You understand me now? It will allow the refrigeration to go smoothly by the time you put the food into the freezer. In as much as when you put it on the shelf in the kitchen for it to cool down a bit, it is well covered and it was not tampered with. You understand me now? So after you have done that and you have scooped, make sure it is well covered in the side. Alternatively, it is better and it is safer to rapidly cool the food. That is, after bringing it from the stove or from the cooker, and you have put it in each of the separate containers, smaller containers in which you want to refrigerate, you have a bowl, a water bath, a cold water bath. You understand me? Like you have small ice cubes put in a bowl,
so they can quickly cool down.
You can start quickly cool down the food.
So you can refrigerate or freeze
within a very short time.
So you've been giving us the different choices to make, and according to research, the choices you make before and after cooking towards refrigeration and freezing is the difference between life and death.
Exactly.
You've given us we've talked about a lot, but in this few minutes you've given us like 3 or 4. Before we end this conversation, could you add 1 or 2 more choices to be made before refrigerating our foods?
Thank you very much. Talking about refrigeration, there's a popular saying which goes thus: garbage in, garbage out. If we put nonsense in the refrigerator, we get that as well. It means that before we store at all, we should ensure that the food itself was hygienically prepared. You get that now? After that, rapid cooling should follow before we now refrigerate. And when we do that, we should ensure that the refrigerator is working at the appropriate temperature of below 5 degrees Celsius or below or at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we do refrigeration, continuous opening of the refrigerator should not be done at all. Then we should ensure that it is tightly closed.
Why?
Because by the time when the lid of the refrigerator is not properly closed, then there will be outlet. The cool air will be escaping. then the temperature will be tampered with. And above all, if we know that we are not very sure, since the power supply is not very stable, then we should be talking about the use of thermometer in the refrigerator. And above all our foods should not be kept at the door of the refrigerator. They should be stored on the cabinets.
Why not?
Because the temperature of the door in the refrigerators, they are not as cool as what we have in the cabinet itself.
So what should we put at the door sides, and what should we put inside the cabinet? Inside
the cabinet, your cooked food should be there. At the lower part of the refrigerator, you should be talking about your fruits, your vegetables. That is, if you know you'll be consuming them within a very short period of time. You get that? But at the door, you can be talking about your bottle, your processed food. You know it has been processed already. It has been preserved already.
Like your ketchup, your mayonnaise.
Exactly.
Your
just
drinks,
by the door side.
By the door. So the mayonnaise, the drinks, the processed food should be by the door side. The fruit should be underneath.
In as much as you are not, it's not that when you take it, you scoop, you take it back again, you scoop, you take it back again. By the time you are opening, you are closing, you are opening, you are closing. You understand me now? You are already intruding, because there's no way here will get there. Even you, when you are talking, you understand me now? In us, we have bacteria, only that they are flora, they are part of us already. You understand that now? But when we talk, we introduce that into the food as well. And that's why it's not encouraged that when you are cooking, you start singing, you start shouting. And that's why I don't eat outside.
Interesting.
The food, the water we use in the preparation too, we must watch out for it too.
Why is it important?
It is what we are using to cook. So whatever that is in there will be introduced into the food itself. So if we are cooking with unhygienic water, the tiger nut that is being reported that causing the cholera outbreak in Lagos, is it not itself that is the problem? It is the water that is used in the preparation of the tiger nut that is causing the problem. That's
where the bacteria actually is in the water.
And that's why it is being introduced into the
There's so much to talk about. We'll take that break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and with us still in the house is Dr. Monsurat Bello, and I think on this set I try as much as possible to be professional this morning on set, but it's more like the evidence of me still being the bachelor tends to just pop out, because it's more like it's a topic that interests us as a people. And I mean us as a people, I mean the single guys out there. We're talking about food safety. Now, you made mention of a fascinating fact as to the need to cook your food and within 2 hours insert it into the fridge and all that. Now, I think to wonder what then becomes a heating system. What is the procedure for heating the food? Now, I know for a fact from your words, you said we could not or may not be too careful at times, and we know of certain bacteria that could tend to affect the food. So I know for single people, once again, we tend to just get it off that fridge, and then just insert it into the microwave. Is there a need for proper heating system, or is the microwave just enough to get the job done?
The temperature, the microwave has temperature range.
Yes.
When you are eating the food, you understand me now. So whatever temperature you are, it depends on the temperature you are using when you are refrigerating. As a food scientist, as a food scientist, we are always very careful when we are talking about preservation. We are talking about the way we treat our food, because we know the effect it can have on our food when they are overheated in terms of the nutritional content of the food. Because some of these nutrients are heat level. Then at the end of the day, if we are not careful with the way we eat, the nutrients will have gone. It will mean that we are hitting just the shafts. The only thing is that immediately you bring it out of the refrigerator, cool it for some time. Or you understand me now? Let it be on the table in the kitchen for some time at the room temperature for a short period of time to allow the cool, how will I put it now? The coolness to come down a bit before you introduce into whatever you want to use to eat it. Because of the nutrient content of which we may not place it at a very high temperature, whatever the range of temperature we use that you want to use, let it be at a lower side. When we do that, then depending on the temperature, it is what will now determine the time in which it will take to for it to spend in the microwave before you can bring it out. If you are refrigerating a food, putting a food in a microwave, if it's going to be in a large quantity, then you have to use a plate that will increase the surface area of the food, such that the whole part of the food will be exposed into the heat, and within a short period of time it will have received the heat, it will have been heated, and then it will be safe for consumption. You understand me now? If you have your food in which you want to place in the microwave in a deep container, and you place in the microwave, it will take time for the heat to radiate into the warm in the lower part of the refrigerator of the microwave. You understand me now? So it depends on the quantity of the food you want to microwave, and that is what you determine the time it will spend in there.
Okay, just a little further. I think to wonder. You know, sometimes we have this tendency of inserting, it's more like every home does that, you know, tendency of inserting raw food and cooked food into the same freezer, fridge as the case may be. What are the risks of cross-contamination, you know, having both processed and raw?
The cooked and the uncooked food.
Yes, together.
Yeah, I earlier mentioned it that when, like in the refrigerator, we use the same refrigerator for both the cooked and the raw food. And that's why I said each of them must be tightly packed, one. Then secondly, we must ensure that they are placed below. The raw ones are placed below, while the cooked ones are on top of it, so that the water zipping out, the juice zipping out from the cooked, the raw one will not contaminate the one that has been cooked, the cooked one. And
how high is this risk factor? You know?
It is very high. Even ordinarily, if we bring meat, like the workers now, the female workers, if we go to the market to buy maybe our fish or our meat, and by the time we get home, we just drop on the table, attending to our kids, attending to all that. But you get to the kitchen, the place will be smelling already. Or at times when you even forget that you have uncooked meat or fish somewhere, you can see how bad the smell is. You understand me? Not to talk about the water. Okay, when the light goes out, for a very long period of time, and we have raw meat in the freezer, you can see the water coming out of it. You can see how smelling it is. Now, imagine it coming into contact with our cooked food. And mind you, cooked food, the time we are going to use to heat it is not as long as the time we are going to use to cook the raw one. So we are only reheating for a short period of time, which may not be enough to kill any introduced bacteria from the juice coming out of the unprepared meat or fish in the refrigerator. You understand that now? So please, when you are talking about raw meat, raw fish, or those perishable ones, let's have them in the freezer compartments, while the cooked one should be in a tightly sealed container, tightly covered container. They would now refrigerate separately.
Now, I have the statistics that I wrote. I don't have the statistics for 2024 or 2023, which is closer, but I have one for 2019, where in 2019 alone, the World Bank reported that the economic burden of foodborne diseases to total productivity in low and middle income countries was estimated at $95.2 billion in 1 year. That's the burden. And also, the World Bank also say in the report that a lot of countries do not know the burden or the losses that they accrue in terms of the effect of foodborne diseases on their citizens. Personally, I lost a friend to food poisoning. This is someone that was in the entertainment industry, a young boy. At 28, he was able to break through what people at 40 couldn't do. He left home early, and he knew what he wanted to do, and fate and life smiled at him, and he was making that progress. He got married, and the next thing we went for the wedding, went for his honeymoon, and the next thing we heard was during his honeymoon, he ate contaminated food, and he died. We lost him at just almost 28 years old, when his light and his day was just breaking. So let us take a look at how to preserve foods, or the implication to our health when we have power outage. which is a common problem. Let me tell you what we do. When we refrigerate foods, we leave them there, even when there is no light.
Right, we don't bother.
So as long as they still we put our hand, oh, it's still cold.
Cool, yeah.
We put our hands, oh, it's still cold. Should I warm? Should I throw it away? Or should I still eat it? I want you to please tell us what we should do. Again, the choices between life and death is in the preparation and the refrigeration or preservation. So what do we do when there's power outage and we have meats in the freezer, in the same fridge we have cooked food, in the same fridge we have the fruits below? Exactly. What do we do after power outage?
Yeah, and that is where the issue of having thermometers in our fridge comes in. If some refrigerators have their thermometers in there, in case they don't have, we have what we call appliance thermometer, which we can get. It takes accurate reading of the coolness of the refrigerator. You understand now? We put it in the refrigerator such that when there is no light, it will tell us what the temperature of the refrigerator is. So when we are now seeing that the temperature is above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, above 5 degrees Celsius, then we know that it is no longer safe for us to refrigerate, because at that point the growth of microorganisms is being encouraged. You get that now? So we should bring out what we have from the refrigerator.
What do we do with them?
In as much as they are still within the number, if we continuously check that, okay, the temperature is at 40 or below 40, but if we now observe that it is no longer at that temperature, at the required temperature, at the safe temperature, we should bring it out and heat and heat. But if we have stored more than 3 days or 4 days, that they have taken light for more than a day, you understand now, then it is no more safe to consume such food anymore.
Do we warm the soups then? Do we bring up? Because that's what
that
we
is
do.
if
we now begin to warm the soup.
That is if it is still within the number of stipulated days, and we are sure that the temperature is still very okay in the refrigerator. But if the temperature is no more like that, and the light is not coming up, even when they bring out the light, let us ensure that the temperature in the fridge works. You understand? If it is not, then we discard. Then we discard. And that is why, looking at the economic situation, we don't keep too much in the refrigerator.
Can we buy ice block and put in the fridge to preserve? No, I want to know. And I know a lot of people will want to ask.
As a matter of fact, in the olden days, before the technology, before the advance in technology, when we were in secondary school in our group, we were taught about early men, how they started farming, talking about hunting using was this stone. Before it now got to the use of iron, they've been preserving. The same thing with this issue of icing and refrigeration. The issue of cooling of food started then too, only that it was not in the advanced form. They used ice then, especially in the winter when they're cooled, and later they find out when they keep in the coolness of the cave,
melts.
The food will, yes, it will then gradually they started using ice. They keep ice for some time so that they can use to preserve their food until we now have refrigerants, the refrigerator and the rest too. So when we are talking about when there's no light, you can have that too. But if it's going to be a prolonged one, there are times even a week, 3, 4, 5 days will not have light in this part of the country. You understand that now? How much ice will you buy? So it's better to preserve. So when you see the situation like this, if it is still okay, you warm. If it is not, please discard. Like I've told you, the pathogenic bacteria will not warn us. They will not give any sign. They will not even smell.
But they are there.
They are there. They will not even smell until we consume.
But are you saying that even when we warm,
yes,
those pathogens don't die?
Yes, especially the spores. There is a future. Yeah, the spore. There is a future of bacteria. Out of all these microorganisms that we are talking about, bacteria can be very deadly. They are good for fermentation. They have their uses too. You understand that now? Like the bacteria we are talking about, they use in fermentation. Like
for yogurt.
For yogurts, for some drinks. You understand that? Even in preparation of these our pap at homes, you understand now? But it has its limits. You understand that now? Such as good as it may be, even in the production of antibiotics, but once one see the other side of bacteria, then one will not be able to curtail it.
Wow.
And that's why we are saying, when you are talking about bacteria, they are two, the pathogenic and the spoilage one. The spoilage one, when you are the type that feel irritated easily Once you are the type that have no quality and you see that this thing is changing color, you discard. It's not that it will cause any illness, except that physical or uneasiness that one will feel that am I the one that will consume this smelly food. But when you are talking about the pathogenic one, no sign, nothing will tell you unless it is taken to lab. Does that mean when we want to eat our food at home, we now take it to the lab before we now eat? No, we don't do that. So the only thing that we take precautions. We take precautions. You understand that? Ensuring that our refrigerator is well set at the normal temperature. You understand now? Making that the food we are putting in is not is in the hygienic form. Ensuring that opening or closing of our fridge is not done incessantly or always. You understand that now? Ensuring that we do not allow the uncooked food to tamper with the ones that are cooked. Putting them in the separate containers that are closely sealed. Putting small quantity at a time. Ensuring that we use good water in the preparation of the food.
So just lately, I was educated by one professional. She stated the need for a certain meal not to be refrigerated. And one of the meals she mentioned was orange juice. That no matter the circumstance, that should never be refrigerated. I think to wonder how true is this and what other meal should not
be refrigerated.
You are talking about food that should be okay. Talking about that orange juice, you see, orange has some level of acid in it, to the best of my knowledge. You understand now? You know, when you are talking about citrus food, we have level of acidity in foods and level of basicity in food. You understand that now? So when you are refrigerating a juice, it should not be at the upper part of the refrigerator, rather at the lower part. You understand that now? It is the coolness that we are talking about there. You get that now? When we are refrigerating and the light is not very stable, you understand now? In there are some bacteria that work well in acidic medium. You give them wings to go. You understand that now? Then they will move on. I don't believe that we should not refrigerate.
Juice, orange juice.
Orange juice, I don't believe we should not refrigerate. If we don't refrigerate, how do we keep it? We don't consume them. Immediately we finish. We cannot finish everything, especially when we produce large quantity of it, especially for the family. You understand that? Even if we are going to produce like in the morning, our family be using it to eat in the evening, we put it somewhere. Even if it's the cool one that is better consumed than the ordinary room temperature trees. You understand me? But what matters most is the temperature in which we are refrigerating. Because when we don't refrigerate at the right temperature, the acidic medium of the juice will affect we give wings to the bacteria in there to grow very fast.
Now you asked another question. Yes. You now said, are there certain foods that shouldn't be refrigerated, that should be left on the shelf or room temperature?
Yeah.
Are there certain foods that you know to the best of your knowledge?
Which is better to be at the room temperature than refrigerated. I was going through a research work yesterday and I saw some, such as tomatoes, your fresh tomatoes, they are better kept
at room temperature, rather than refrigerating.
Rather than refrigerating, because you know the light is not stable. By the time you put in there, the light will go, it will come, it will go, it will come. Then gradually, the texture is being affected. You know the texture
begins to mold, even in the refrigerator.
It will become softened. Then deal with coming mold will set in. But when it is already adapted to that natural environment in our room temperature on the kitchen, so far the fresh air is coming, all you need to do is to continue checking. If they are getting soft, you use the ones that are more ripe earlier than the other ones.
Now it's interesting that you mentioned tomatoes, because there's been a lot of hype on social media. There's been a lot of warnings, even by NAFDAC, about tomatoes. Even before tomatoes became gold, the golden ball, people will still go and buy Esha, the broken tomatoes, and we're told that anyone who buys broken tomatoes at the market or fruits that are softened at one side or probably have a mold on the other side is actually consuming poison. This is the right time for you to just educate us on why it is wrong to buy Esha tomatoes. Why?
It is because those whitish things you are seeing on it is not powder. Neither is it any of these are powdered food that is being placed on it. It is as a result of the growth of microorganisms on it. The white substance you are seeing it is telling you that it has been infested, and they are not safe. Even by the time you pick it and you smell, you can see that it is not attractive. It is not how will I put it?
It's offensive.
It is offensive. It is offensive. You cannot compare with the and that is why they are not even selling it at the same price with the fresh one anymore. If it is valuable, they will be selling it at higher price too. But they cannot do it because they know the quality
has dropped.
So it is not safe at all. I was seeing someone that was I was teaching my student. I taught them microbiology, part 4 student 401. So somebody was now telling me that somebody told them that Daisha tomato can solve the problem of cancer. I said, me, please, I'm hearing this for the first time. If you are talking about lowering of sugar content consumption, I will have said, okay, let me go and do more research on it. But talking about Daisha tomato treating cancer, I've never heard that before. Please don't go near it. It is poison.
So obviously, we heard Daisha tomatoes, avoid. We can't even buy these strong ones now. So I don't know the advice to give, but definitely you must stay away from Daisha tomatoes. There's another thing I don't want to forget that Ezekiel mentioned. Talking about microwaving our foods is another thing. I still microwave, but anytime I microwave and I pray this food will not kill me before I eat it, because everywhere we turn, we are told not to microwave. Just throw your microwave out. Don't not microwave. Please talk about it, please.
Well,
do you agree or disagree?
My sister.
If you disagree, why?
I don't use microwave. You understand me now? All these equipment we are using, they have both the advantages and the disadvantages, and researches are on and on. You understand me now? I may not be able to answer the question on your on the issue of microwave thoroughly because I have not done the personal research on that. Okay. But based on what I have been reading, I know that it is not safe. Instead of that, why not preheat? Why not reheat your food on the normal? It is always better to be safe than to be sorry. You understand now? Because all these researchers, they are trying to bring out something. You understand that now? When we are using certain gadgets, like I've already said, they have their advantages and they have their disadvantages. So once some people are telling us that it has disadvantages, then there must be something there. Like I have said the other time when my husband said the NAFDAC said refrigerating food more than 3-4 days is not unique. It doesn't accept, it doesn't like it. That okay, what they want us to do? They will tell us not to eat this, not to do this, just because we want to live low. Are we not going to die eventually? Then let us just cut. I said no. If we are going
for long life,
let us at least we should live the number of years we want to live.
Should be healthy.
We should be strong, not in illness. Because the adverse effect of all these things, it's not that it's going to kill us at once. It may subject us to pain. Even those people around us will suffer too. You understand? So please, I may not be able to give you a complete answer on the issue of that. I don't use it. Having heard that it is not very safe, I just stayed away from it.
Why can't you explain tomatoes and citrus? You made mention of the term acidity. I went to wonder, do you mind explaining this context in relation to their storage life in the refrigerator?
What I'm trying to say is, you see, all foods have what we call pH, which is degree of acidity and degree of alkalinity. You understand? That's why when you take some food, they will be sour. Some will be mild in your mouth, and some will just be neutral. You will not even feel, except maybe for the sweetness. You get that now. Look at your lime, for example. When you put it in our mouth, we feel it. That's because of the high acid content in it. When we are talking about your lemon, you understand now, it is mild. You understand now? The level of acidity, even though it is citrus food, the level of acidity in it is what is lowered. You get that now. So when you are talking about storage, and that's why I said I prefer refrigerating, because when you don't refrigerate it, the microorganisms, they are always there in the food. They are not dead. Even when you cook, when you do whatever, they are there. But we've only lowered the activeness. We've inhibited their growth. So when the temperature becomes favorable for them, they do what? They thrive again. You understand now? So when you are talking about this acidity of the thing, when the condition is warm, then the microorganism will start growing again.
We're rounding up already, but I don't want us to leave without you telling our audience the importance of cleaning our refrigerator and its effect if we do not do it on the foods and our health.
Thank you very much. The refrigerator, ordinarily we see it as just a box in the house. It is only when there is no light anymore that we know that this is not just a refrigerator. This is not just a box, but something that is of utmost importance in our kitchen. And therefore, it has to be cleaned always. Like I said, thank God that nowadays the freezers that they are doing now, that they are producing now, they are not the one that has frost in them anymore. They don't have those thick frost like we have in the past, such that we have to bring everything in it out. We'll clean, we defrost, then we now introduce back again. Because during the period of time bringing it out, some microbes might have been introduced. So if we are the type that has such type of freezer at home, and we are still using that, and we are bringing it out in order to clean the freezer, we should make sure that all those foods that we have there, we should put them in a cooler with ice in them, make them they are properly covered with blanket to make sure that they are cool before introducing them into the refrigerator. That is one. We should ensure proper cleaning, not using abrasive detergents, but mild ones to clean it. And if we are the type that maybe when there has not been light, power outage for some time, and the refrigerator or the freezer has become smelly, let us clean it with half quantity of water and vinegar, so that the odor will go away, so that you do not contaminate what we are bringing back into the refrigerator. And in case the odor are still there, we can put like this soda in the kitchen. Let's put it in the baking soda, not the soda we are using to wash plate. Let's put it in a container in the corner so that it can help us remove the odor, absorb the odor that we have there. Then we'll put it back. And like I have said, the raw materials, the raw food materials should not be kept the same side with the cooked one, and the juice from that one should not be allowed to contaminate our cooked food.
Dr. Bello, we want to thank you so much for being our guest on the show. Let me tell you, look, I am not tired of talking about issues like this. I wish we could go on and on talking about it, but time is never our friend on the show. But one thing I know, I've learned so much from you being our guest today. So we appreciate you. Hope to see you some other time on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
That's how we draw the curtain on Daybreak Africa this morning. My name is Anire Binitie. Stay positive, stay safe, and eat right.
As always, you do have a great day today. You remain forever Ezekiel Ogar.
Bye for now.